Right, before we take the engine apart and split the casings, I just want to talk about inside here. There's a little cap, you can see that, and the push drive mechanism that the clutch actually drives, that drives the gearbox. There's some radial single roller bearings that sit in there, and generally they fall on the floor. So when I'll be knocking the engine apart, I will be turning it around to find them all on there. And from memory, there's between 19 and 24, depending on the size of the bearings when Piaggio have built the engine. I've seen different sizes of bearings and different amounts of them as well. So when I've been building different Vespa engines, I think the pack comes with something like 24 in it, and then you just put as many as you can get around, and then put your axle into there and spin it. 2, 3, 4. So I want to put them out the way, because again I want to put these back on. So right, we'll turn the engine around. That there. In fact, let me put them studs in the ice cream tub so they don't fall on the floor. It's less to drop out. And then we'll spin the engine around, hopefully without knocking anything down. All my rubbish gloves have decided to drop down. They're absolute junk. You only need to touch anything and they break, so that's the lid of my ice cream tub. Right, so on the engine itself, at the bottom where the gear adjuster is, the gear selector, there's a little part where you can knock, and you can knock above here as well, just to break the seal, and then you can move the kickstart around to get what you want. So you can use a screwdriver, or you know, in this case a well-used socket, extension bar, and if I find, there it is there. So if I give that a little tap, and I'm not saying smack it, you know, madly, just give it a little tap like that. It's already broken the seal, and a tap on there, and we should be able to spin the engine around again, and hopefully just move the two halves apart. And I'll explain why it's so easy on a Vespa engine to do that in a second. So let's get that screwdriver out of the way, and we'll spin her around again. So, oh, don't drop it on the floor. So I'm trying to show you that we've got a gap there. Never put a screwdriver in there. Never ever ever do that with a Vespa engine. So if you look at it, where I've tapped it on the top, it's actually closed in on the bottom. So I'll get the long ratchet again on it, extension, and just give that a tap again. There it is. See the engine coming apart? And you'll always get gearbox oil, unfortunately. Again, another design flaw with these is the filler and the drain are higher than the last bit of oil that you have in the engine, so I don't know why they don't put them right at the bottom. So our engine is split, and how hard was that? Dead easy, no heavy hammering or, you know, bashing on anything, and definitely no screwdrivers on that seal. So if I just shift them out of the way and give my hands a bit of a wipe and spin it around a bit more again. Mop up all this gearbox oil, and we should be able to just get the Kickstarter and rock it. backwards and forwards. See how easy that's come off? You know, again, it's one of them I don't really want to do again, but that's totally free. When you need to bring the kickstart down to free it, so that will just come off the engine. So we've got our engine apart now in 2 halves. So we've got a spring to catch, sorry, and I think we've been lucky that the actual kickstart is keeping the bearings safe. So wow, that's brilliant. And it's sod's law, isn't it? I bought some kickstart rubbers that I don't need. I replaced them last time I built the engine, there and there. I'll bring that down, there and there. Right, so I'll put that side of the engine to one side, and before I end this video, I'll discuss where the weak point on the gaskets are. That's brilliant. I keep getting them mixed up with the GS's and what have you. All them bearings I'm on about are actually in there underneath this, so we'll watch out for them when we knock the bearing seal out. See, that slightly got some play, not much. You do need some play. The oil, generally, if you don't seal around here, that's the weak spot on a PX engine for what they call pumping oil. And if I take the gasket off in one piece with a bit of luck, which it appears to be wanting to do, which that's a first for me. I've never had that on any Vespa engine, where the gasket comes off in one go like that. That's superb. So that's the bit I'm talking about. See how thin that is? And it's dead easy for that not to seal, and the oil comes in the gearbox behind the crankshaft and then gets pumped in to your mixture. It always seems to go from the, because this is under pressure, it seems to go that way rather than the opposite way. But you can see there's no marks on the crankshaft. Brilliant. That was a new Mazzucchelli a few years ago. I'll clean all that up and polish it again. And again, we'll go through, you know, the crankshaft. And you can see how good they are inside the casings. This oil thrower, it stops the oil from going up. Keeps the cush drive lubricated because it goes up and in there. You can pull that out with a pair of pliers, there's no big deal with that, and then put it somewhere safe. We'll do that in a bit, but like I say, that's as far as I want to go down today. The mag side oil seal, like I say, you don't need to take the engine apart to actually do any work on that. But I'll show you as well that the correct way of doing gearboxes, and I'll probably stir a hornet's nest here. The workshop manual doesn't tell you to put it here, your feeler gauge is here. It tells you to put them on the back for play. And I believe it's the experts out there, and I'm not an expert, I'm not claiming to be an expert, but when you get a lot of these scooters jumping out of 4th and 3rd gear, I think it's because they've done the spacing this side. On an EFL engine it's both sides, but they tell you to gap it from the back. If you actually look in the Piaggio workshop manual, that tells you where. I always used to do them from the front, so I'm as guilty as everybody else, but I've learned over the years that, you know, you can be wrong. Sometimes reading a manual is not a waste of time, and that's one of the tips. When we take out the gearbox and look at it, I'll show you shimming up basically the gearbox, and when you're doing the end float, it's on the 4th gear. So this is the 1st gear, and on a Vespa, sorry, the Lambretta, the 1st gear's got cogs on it like teeth because the kickstart engages with that. Vespas use a star gear, and that sits there and it turns. Sorry, it sits there and turns. It engages. Do you see the teeth there? When you press down, it engages and turns over the whole engine, turning over the crankshaft. It turns over this. See that? But the gearbox, because it's not in gear, if I can find a neutral, I think it's the first gear. Yeah, like neutral, they can turn round and the back wheel won't move. But we'll go through all of that. Look at the cruciform. Clean up all of this as well before we rebuild it. I've progressed in the years I built this from Hylamide, the red hematite gasket sealant, which, you know, you can see it's done its job. It saved the gasket. Like I say, I've never had a Vespa gasket yet where I've been able to do that. Never. But there's always a first time. So before we go on, I'm just going to put these washers back on here. And the nuts. It is that way round, sorry. So we don't lose them. I'll wash her on there. Again, you can double nut them and take them off if you want to. You know, say if you're having the engine vapor cleaned. I'm not against it. It's just over the years they get impregnated with oil, and see how nice that is inside. It's protected anyway. It tends to be scooters that have left standing for years and years on end that tend to get, you know, the aluminium goes off. So it's worth having like an old Lambretta crankcase done if you want it nice and new. And I've seen some of the people that do them, they are as good as new, if not better. So very, very good. I've got the wrong washer on that one. It's that washer. This is one of the reasons for putting the nuts and washers back on, because that washer belongs with the stud that's there. But until we move the back brake lever, see, I can get it past it now. If I pull the back brakes on, and that should come out. There we go. And again, that's another long one, and it's interesting that that's a grey anodised one. Again, you know, they're all original studs. New original Piaggio. I bought some new screws for the magneto, the actual stator plate, and I bought some new rubbers for the Kickstart, but they are mint still. What happens with the rubbers inside here, sorry, if we can clean it up, because this is sitting all the time here. Yeah, that one is a little bit flat, but that's not worth changing that. What they do is they become flat, and then the Kickstart sits a little bit higher. Let's say they're all new bearings. Every bearing in this scooter is new. I changed every single one. They're all sit bearings from Germany. So we'll clean all this up anyway before we rebuild it, and we'll wash out the crankshaft. What I'll do as well is, seeing as we've got this far, I'll take the Kickstart mechanism off and show you there's a rubber seal. It's quite primitive again, but it works. And I've seen a couple of posts on some American websites where the Kickstart mechanism's locked down and the Kickstart drops to the floor, and it actually will hit the floor, and if you then turn into a right corner, it can actually unseat the rider. I've never had that, and I've never known anybody personally but that's happened to, and I don't even have a clue why that would do that, why it would suddenly catch. You know, that would catch and seize, because that can be the only way it can drop, that it's being driven to drop. It wouldn't just drop. You know, maybe they're welding themselves onto the cush drive, the Christmas tree part of it, you know, although people have said no, they're not, that's spinning. So some people suggested it was a Kickstart spring going. I just really don't know. I've never had that problem, but hey ho, we're all, you know, we all live and learn, as they say. Just because I haven't doesn't mean anything. We can take the gears out on the next video. I'm going to leave that here. I've got quite a lot of uploading to do now. I've got about 3 videos to upload, and I'll probably pull that out the way because we need to get that out anyway. So we don't need it out of the way for the oil seal because that's inside this side. The drive side oil seal sits inside, and as you know, on the previous video, I've bought some Vuitton ones from Germany, and a lot of people, again, you know, there's cynics or whatever you call them. I just think I don't want to be the guy sat on the side of the road because I didn't put the, you know, E10 proof oil seals in my scooter. You know, I have actually got new stars of them as well. I call them Star, Kickstart Star, but that one's fine. It's not worn, and again on the end of the Christmas tree, they're all fine. I can't see any damage to them. We'll discuss bearing, the surface of these, that they need to be nice and not damaged because they intercog. I mean, that's what the Vespa's famous for, that the cogs working. And the reason that's so noisy is because it's not being supported, and there's no oil as well. But it should have some sort of play like that in them. They shouldn't be, you know, rock solid and not like that, because all you'll do is the teeth will wear between them. It has to have a lash, a gap. But hey ho, I'm digressing again like I always do. So I'll just pull that out before we switch off. And like I say, thanks again everybody for watching and subscribing. I do appreciate it. Like I say, it helps grow, and it just gives me a boost when, you know, I'm doing these videos, because I'm self-funded. I'm not making no money out of it, you know, it's just good to get some feedback, and mostly I have had good feedback. I've had a couple of people telling me I'm doing stuff wrong and what have you, but they generally are the minority. On the older casings, again, this is different. It's got a rivet basically, and a metal plate that goes up. Don't know why they changed it to that, really don't know, but they have. I suppose it's easier to change that should it wear. I can't see how it would wear, but you know, it just basically stops all the oil going out the gearbox and getting thrown on the top of the engine. So it's just one of them things. So like I say, once again, thanks for watching, and the next video we'll be taking the gearbox out and the Christmas tree cush drive. You can't really see that, I can probably see here, but you know, they're all new and replaced, and the P200's got 2 sets of springs in them, where the PX 125 and 150s only have 1. So, but that's another story for another day. I'm quite happy. I've got quite a long way today without too much problem. I had the odd, you know, the worst was the rear hub nut. I don't know why I couldn't find the socket for that. I'll have to have another look and take it from there, as they say, buy another one and leave it in to one side, because every time I do a front or a back hub, I'm always searching for the correct socket for it. So the trouble is, I've got so many tools all over the place, but that's not for you to worry about. So take care everybody, be good, be nice to everybody else, and look after yourselves till see the next one. Bye for now.